Hello, I'm drinking an IPA from the Vale. This is Master Shredder, and it's only 5% or 5.5% Mosaic Forward India Pale Ale. So I did a review of this beer from a few years ago. I didn't know the age, it didn't have the date, but every other cans from the Vale I've gotten have had the date. So this is February 2nd. It's March 13th, so this one is a little over a month old. And I was like, I don't know, my old video review of this wasn't very enthusiastic. Maybe I just wasn't in a great mood. I don't know. Because I had some cans of this again, and maybe I got it fresher. I don't know. It's at this age, it seems like it's not gonna go uphill. But I've been enjoying this one. And actually had this right after I had a Treehouse Little Machine, which is their like pale ale version of Juice Machine, the double IPA. Both the same strength, 5.5, and this one had much more flavor and body, but they do call it an IPA. More bitterness. So maybe that means, it's 5.5%, but they just hop it heavily like they would an IPA and use a lot of malt. Maybe not quite as much, but then it's like a little less attenuated. That means it's less highly fermented. So even though it's 5.5, they probably has more sugar to it, more sweetness, more body than a pale ale. But it's in the eye of the beholder. There's so many breweries like Trillium where they're like, oh, this is 6.5%. It's super hoppy. It's a pale ale. Like their 4-point series. This looks pretty good. It's just like straight up orange, I guess I'd say. Head sticking around nicely, despite this wide glass. And I'm just loving Mosaic these days. Just the peachiness of it is so strong. This one might be a little bit more like canned peaches and canned mandarin oranges rather than like super fresh bright, but it's still very bright and very fruity. Yeah, that's very nice. Especially for 5.5%. It smells like it's going to be kind of sweet. There isn't too much of a yeast ester note to it. There's like very little green. It's really just sort of like V8 splash. Sweet orange and peach and maybe like guava. Lots of stone fruit stuff. But very fruity. Doesn't taste old at all. This may have been refrigerated its whole life. I got it from a place that had it in the fridge. And lots of body. I guess what a lot of people might not like is this. It does have an earthy, kind of spicy bitterness that comes in. But it still has that. It's almost like a blue raspberry peachy thing, like a peach rings, but it reminds me of just like popsicle-y stuff. Like fruit punch, but when they would have like a fruit punch that's called like tropical punch. Yeah, it's pineapple-y too. But there's this earthy bitterness that contrasts quite a bit. But the big thing is if it ends up just having that dominate it. That's what I've noticed in a lot of beers over the years. But this one, I think it keeps the balance. The feel isn't super soft, but it's substantial. And like this almost reminds me a little bit of Tilted Barn beers, but doesn't go as much into that bitter, spicy quality. Like I'm getting some green notes and some almost mentholy notes in here, but it's keeping the fruitiness. But yeah, it definitely gets some bitterness. And yeah, real happy. They make double, triple, think even quadruple dry hop version of this, and like you don't need it. This beer's a month and a half old almost, and this tastes this potent and fresh. Impressive. You don't need to do any more for this. I'm a big fan. Yeah, wow, just so much flavor. And it wasn't too expensive. Last time I bought this a few years ago, it was $17.50. This time it was $17. But the place I went, it's one of those places that doesn't put the price on things, and usually when that happens, it's going to be a ripoff. But I don't think this is a ripoff. Yeah, I really do seem to like the Veil beers that are lower ABV, 6% and under. They do some really great, really drinkable IPAs are kind of intense. And yeah, it's not really, you wouldn't call this a session IPA. It's just sort of this lower ABV IPA. But it's definitely got the body and the hoppiness, and this one, the bitterness of a full-on IPA. Even though not these days, IPA doesn't necessarily mean bitter, but to differentiate it from a pale ale that shouldn't be necessarily that bitter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you give this to me, I would probably say I might even say it's 7%. But there's like 5.5, so there's like no booziness. It's clean. I would give this a 4.5, maybe even plus. I'm a sucker for Mosaic these days. It's just such a potent fruity hop that gives you so much flavor and aroma, and very little negative flavors, negative qualities about it. So that's it, 4.5. Bye.